Hello guys, welcome back to another video, and today it is going to be episode 1 of the July 2023 Road to Rank 1 series. So if you're not familiar with this series yet, it's one I do on my channel every month, where essentially I try to hit rank 1 on the ladder by the end of the season, or at least top 5 is sort of the goal. Some seasons I get it, some seasons I don't. And I'm going to show you a selection of some of the games, the most interesting games on the way there, which will show you both sort of meta decks on ladder being played at their peak, with me trying to explain to the best of my abilities how to play against specific decks, how to play the specific decks that I'm going to be playing, and of course showing you sort of what the meta is like, not in terms of what cards are meta, but in terms of the meta of trying to hit rank 1. When to play, when to not play, etc, etc, etc. Now, this month, we are starting with about 9 days left in the season, and as you can see, I'm actually currently in rank 1 already. I've been playing out a bunch of different decks on ladder, and honestly, I've just been having a lot of fun with the game. And I mean, I have fun playing cards, don't get me wrong, but I've just been having a ton of fun playing ladder regardless of the outcome. And some of the decks that I have been playing in the more recent days have been much better than the decks that I started with at the beginning of the season. So sort of as a result, I have climbed up to rank 1. So you might be wondering, well, why am I recording the intro to this video now? There is a 0% chance that the season ends with rank 1 being at 2760. I expect this is going to be a high 2800s or low 2900s season. So I might as well start playing now, and it's fun. So yeah, we are going to be playing, despite being in rank 1, it's important to be in rank 1 at the end of the month, and that's going to require way more points, which means way more games, and that's going to mean way more exciting games for you to watch. So without further ado, let's get into said games, and yeah, I'll roll the intro.
What a performance there by J King.
J King, full plot armor.
J King is pushing himself into the ranks of the legends.
J King is our world champion! J King 7! What? The back-to-back Cards world champion!
Alright, so game 1 here, we are against a Briton, and the deck I am playing is Japan German Discard. So this is actually the deck that I hit rank 1 with. It's the deck that it's not the only deck that I've been playing, or the only deck that I've been having success with. Okay. Got disconnected for inactivity in-game. Anyways, while the game restarts, hopefully, I mean, it's only turn 1, and I hopefully did correctly play that 1-drop. But, yeah, I've been having a lot of success with Jagro, German-Japan discard, self-damage. Lately I've just been playing Japan-German discard, somewhat to grind the XP, somewhat because I do find it slightly more enjoyable than the German-Japan variant. The game does not appear to be reopening, so I might miss turn 2. I mean, if there's any turn in the game that you are going to miss with this deck, it's gonna be, you're gonna want it to be like turn 1 or 2, and if there's any nation you're gonna want that to be against, it's gonna be Britain, because right now Britain doesn't really have any aggressive options. I mean, I've seen like 2 air decks this season, something like that. So hopefully we don't have to worry much about that. But we are going first, meaning not only do we have less cards, our opponent is going to have more cards. Meaning it's going to be harder to discard them of all of the cards in their hand. As well as Britain has access to a lot of card draw. Man, what is going on with cards? Oh, here we go. It is slowly starting to reopen. At this point, we might miss turn 1 and 2. I mean, as long as it doesn't, like, automatically surrender the game because, like, AFK. Alright, here we go. Our opponent did Pioneer into Stiff Upper Lip. Let's see. Alright, so I missed just turn 2. So I missed 1 damage, I missed getting another Type 94 on board. Not the end of the world. We're playing against Twists here, the same name as a CSGO pro player. Now, he could be Commandos, he could be Credit Denial. Credit Denial is probably the most meta pick. With Stiff Upper Lip, it could just be completely random nonsense. Now, there's actually a very, I was going to say a very solid argument for double pinning the Pioneer Company to sort of lower the amount of credits they're going to be able to get generated off of that thing. However, Evasive Action is going to stop that. I mean, surely this is a Commando deck then. Okay. Britain, Poland, that's fair enough. Now, I could get Dragon Slayer down. I feel like just going for the Audacity here seems fine. I mean, going wide and going tall both get punished by a decent number of cards. Hitting the Pioneer Regiment is just unfortunate. Alright, Interception. At least it's not Secret Operatives. And that is going to be draining cards out of their hands. So yes, the Evasive Action and the Secret Operatives are, or the Interception, are kind of annoying. However, it's not that bad because, I mean, this one goes 1 for 1. However, I probably have more card draw in my deck than my opponent. But the Evasive Action one is not that big of a deal, since I still get the body on board. Floats 4 credits. It's quite interesting. I think I'm just going to play Dragon Slayer and attack the HQ. I mean, there's certainly no reason to play an order here. Mostly, well, 1, because of Ultra, but 2, because this is the only order in hand I could have played. I want to get damage in. Just, my opponent's probably not a Commonwealth deck, but being able to have the option to try to pressure them out is going to be good against a deck like Britain, Poland, that is going to be able to generate a lot of value if I'm not able to sort of get the discard rolling. And if he doesn't, like if he spends the credits on something else, I could have played an on-curve Bonsai. I think I'm just going to kill these and move on. If he Kyber Bombs this, and then I immediately just case Yellow the Pioneer, maybe get intercepted again. Okay, Stiff Upper Lip. That's very unfortunate for him to be drawing these Stiff Upper Lips without... we're only drawing 1 off of these things, but... I mean, I suppose a component of that comes down to how he's using it. And... here... we're close to lethal. Because we don't have lethal, I'm probably just going to trade and push up another cavalry regiment. This is the great thing about getting a board control, is you can really just take these turns to take the free kills on the units. Yes, I was close to lethal, and yes, you almost certainly will have something to prevent lethal here. Agency Africa. So he's going to get 1 of the cards in my hand. All of them already have intel. And... I mean, this just seems like a solid Bonsai turn. So I'm going to attack HQ. This time the Bonsai, no orders can do this, because Bonsai I love in this deck. A lot of people have been on Maelstrom, I'm on the Bonsai train. Because there's a lot of Poland, there's a lot of like random recons, scouting parties, a lot of that kind of stuff. Alright, so the first Uprising comes out, but he's on 9 health. He's down a decent chunk. Okay, I was going to say he's down a decent chunk of his Legion generation. That's the 3rd Plan West. Now I want to get some discard going. I might case yellow the HQ. No interception. I could have case yellowed one of these, but I'm slightly worried he'll have like a secret ops after all. And getting down to 8 means Shiden lethal, if at any point he's unguarded. And also I draw Shiden. That is incredibly annoying. That's the card he got off of Agency Africa. Discarding Annihilation, one of the better cards I have in my hand. And then he does Orb to get 5, meaning he has Wolfpack or another case yellow in hand. Quite unfortunate. Yeah, 5 cost Dina is not the end of the world. And here he pushes up. So we have the Annihilation. I could just annihilate this. I love to save Annihilations for Tarnows in this matchup. Okay, we discard the case yellow. That is very helpful. At this point, since we have the To the Last Man, he's at a health total now that, and just what I have access to in my hand, I don't think I'm going to be burning him down anytime soon. And with To the Last Man, I don't think the chip damage here is going to be that relevant. Okay, there's the draw 2 off stiff upper lip. That's a really smart combo. Stiff upper lip in Legions, since you are going to have basically an endless stream of cards. Agency Africa for one of these 4 cards. Surprise Attack is definitely the one of the lower impact ones. So going to start with the I'll start with the FW, and then I will surprise attack the Karis to trigger Ultra, and then we'll fack him. Discard second tar now, that's quite huge. Although at this point in the game it's already somewhat difficult for him to imagine him coming back, just in terms of value. But knowing the tar now's gone, he's sort of run out of uses for his intel cards. Like, he'll have like a couple more Legion generations, but with To the Last Man in hand and Ultra triggered. Okay, that was certainly not something I was expecting. I was not expecting the medium gun. Okay, I mean, he does have a 7/6, and Monty's still in deck, presumably. So, we do have to be somewhat careful. I could actually kill the Legions, which I'm kind of leaning towards, to be completely honest. So I believe actually hitting this and then playing Shenano is better, because currently Shenano is 8, split across 4, which on average will leave him with a 3/1 and a 8/1. However, if I hit this, it's 7 split across 3, meaning it should clear his board on average. And that's exactly what it does. Alright. So now his board's clear. He might have a second Uprising to take this all out. I will be left with an Aichi. Well, Monsoon Rot supply shortage. It's certainly going to accomplish the job. And up until now, we've been going after his hand. We've been putting him under a little bit of pressure with a handful of cards. We should have played Dina first in case of, second evasive action. And now you might be wondering, well, what about when you reach this point in the game and then your opponent starts, they still have some bombs. They still have some threats like Lancaster, Sexton, a bunch of rafts, something like that. Well, the answer is I still have Kika and Shiden in deck. So I'm actually like pretty set for the value needed to get across the finish line. And since I don't imagine my opponent's going to be dealing damage to me at any point, potentially even this game, I'm going to test for Doubting System, take out the Legions, and I think he should be out of Legion Generation. He's out of Plan Wests, he's out of Tarnaus. Haven't seen any underground states from him. And that also means he's now within Shiden range at any point. Even Kiko top deck would be lethal if he doesn't remove this. 4, which means he has my island defense. Oh, actually, he gets my Sky Barons, which might have used a little prematurely, considering what I have left in my deck, but heal forward, destroy units, not bad. And speak of the devil, there's the Shiden. And, well, that is the only health gain he's played so far this game. If he has a full collection, he might have Sincerely Yours, but also he's sort of running low on cards, despite me being a discard deck, with, you know, 2 Wolfpacks with Draw Denial. He's drawn more cards than me. Kitty Hawk doesn't really do anything. Monty not to draw, although at this point maybe he likes that. Maybe not. It's sort of a mistake to think that in this situation you should be thinking of exclusively Fatigue, because 8 cards left in deck means if with him only drawing 1 card a turn, 8 turns before Fatigue, so 8 turns where the board still matters. That is easily enough for one of us, or either of us, to kill the other, depending on if you can even get like 1 or 2 units to stick on board. So let's test for another countermeasure. Destroy the Lancaster. And I mean, with Wellington and Lancaster gone, I'm feeling slightly safe leaving the Shiden up. I mean, he would need to 2 for 1, including... I mean, I suppose he played His Majesty's Chosen at some point, I think. It would be quite difficult for him to remove this where it being guarded is relevant. Fully wipes the board, and again, we do have Kika somewhere in the deck. And if not, we are going to win on Fatigue relatively soon. Okay, that is certainly not a card I expected my opponent to have. Okay, well, maybe I should have done To the Last Man. The argument for To the Last Man is if he plays, like, you know, a second Lancaster, I can't do To the Last Man and Island defense on the same turn. Nine cost Lancaster, Soviet, or Britain, Poland is crazy. What card would he point at my HQ? Okay, there goes Kuiper Bombing. We have Kika in hand. He's at 1 HP. Surely this game can be put to rest. He also has 3 cards left in the deck. And there's the surrender. So, games on this deck certainly do not take a short period of time. Games are quite long. However, I have a 85% win rate with this deck, 86 now, I think. And that is going to be another plus 6 points. So, yeah, that is first game on the deck. And now let's show you the best of what's to come. Good game twists. Alright, we have a match against Soviets going first again. Gonna keep Dragon Slayer just because it's a pretty difficult card to deal with for any Soviet deck. And if it's self-damage, we're not going to be playing anything in the first few turns anyways. It is Tokens. Tokens actually can be a bit of a rough matchup just because this deck doesn't have a ton of AoE. And also just the nature of how reserves works. It is sort of like anti-discard. And honestly, maybe I should just shenano. I'm not going to, of course. I have Bombing Raid in hand, and he's probably not going to, like, he might play a Frontal Assault here. Yeah, Modus is not the end of the world. I could even Bombing Raid this. Like, it's not amazing, but it plays on curve, and it gets rid of the worry of getting, like, super blown out early. I could also go for a Shenano that's might work. So if I did Shenano, that would be a 7 damage Shenano, 4 targets. It certainly has a decent possibility of clearing. Okay, just double push up. Ooh, I would love to get the IG on board. I think I'm going to go for the Dragon Slayer, though. Dragon Slayer helps at taking out this big health target, meaning that I can play Shenano with the through slightly more. Like at the expense of a 1 unit on board. So at the expense of Shenano dealing 1 less damage, I take away one of the targets, making it more likely to hit the others. That's why one of the reasons I really love Shenano is it's very unclear at times when, like, if you should attack before or after what you should attack if you intend on playing a Shenano. I mean, here it's pretty clear. I'm going to attack this unit, play out Type 94, and then Shenano, and trade off with anything that's left. And that's a full clear. Man, Shenano is so much worse than Desperate Measures, purely because of the mental. Like, in this situation, Desperate Measures, easy clear. And, like, yes, you lose a credit slot, but, like, with Shenano, it's gotta just, like, cross your fingers and hope you're not just gonna get that, like, random hit face, like, 5 times, and, like, the Cossacks once, and then you get blown out by double Frontal Assault on the following turn. Triple Sickle. My opponent's actually very low on health. I could even pin this. I mean, I don't... Unless this guy is running my Japan tokens with island defense. This is it. This is why you run Japan ally tokens, guys. This is it. Alright. Let's see what that gave us. Alright, solid 5 points. Let's get to the next game. Alrighty, we are playing against Japan, against a player called ... And this is usually what I mulligan for against Japan. I'll probably keep Sky Barons, actually, just because Japan has such a tendency of playing out large air units, more so than any other nation right now. I never keep 24th Cavalry. I swear this card is more common than 32nd. I know mathematically that's impossible. Look at that. The first card I get back on the mulligan, another 24th Cavalry. I literally never keep 24th Cavalry, and I've had multiple games where I end up with 3 in hand after not keeping any. Also, just because since they all draw each other, and unlike 32nd, you're not trying to play them on turn 1, they will statistically turn up by the point where they're, like, within the range where they're relevant. Japan-US is a bit of a concerning matchup. It's probably favored, but it's far, far, far from an easy matchup. I'm not sure why my opponent has not ended their turn. I mean, looking at this hand is looking pretty good for it, but, like, you never know with Japan-US when they're gonna kill you with, like, 20 damage from hand on turn 6. So the fact that he went for a 61st rather than like an Arrow of Need is good. Okay, the fact that he's running Allied Research Effort is very good, because that card is terrible. I think I'm actually fine. Okay, actually, I'll just do Dragon Slayer. That's a good alternative. I was going to say, I don't actually think I'd kill this, because he spends 2 credits to use it. This bomber ignores guard, so it's not like I'm worried about this protecting something. And it also draws him a card, which means he is more likely to find a good curve with his ramp, with his just, other cards he plays. So, yeah, I'm perfectly fine with this sticking on board. And Dragon Slayer means that, he has a card to deal with. Here I could just get him for 6 with the prevalence of island defense. I think I'm just gonna Wolf Pack. Okay, well, island defense is actually one of the worst cards to see discarded. I mean, in this situation it's kind of fine, because there's a possibility that I'll be able to pressure him, but... do I ever leave this on board? Like, I know I have the very easy Sky Barons on it, but... I mean, there's just always going to be good Sky Barons targets in his deck, and I want to get this discard rolling. Okay, well, that's the card he got off of Allied Research Effort. Like, it's possible he's going to have Bolster, Honor, Burst of Fire, but yeah, okay. He just trades 1 for 1. I'm perfectly fine with that. This one, I'll Sky Barons. I could Case Yellow trade the Aichi. Problem with that is I do Overdraw. Overdrawing with this deck is really not that much of an issue. Yeah, I hopefully can find an Annihilation as quickly as possible. Type 94 is very good. It's not discard, but it's going to be able to deal with any threat. And it looks like he might not be Tony OTK, but rather just like ramp up into playing large units, which is certainly an ideal. That's going to overdraw us with 32nd. As I mentioned, overdrawing really not that much of an issue in this deck. So I think I'm actually going to... I'm going to pin this and then get a 24th to the front line. And the reason for this is, yes, he runs Tora and apparently Imperial Decrees. I'm kind of fine if he Imperial Decree Toras this again, because it means that's 2 very weak cards out of his hand. At this point, okay, there's the Tora and Last Rites. And Southern Plan. Well, this is going to be leaving him with 1 card in hand. As in the card he top decks. Okay, that was certainly not the card I was expecting it to be. Probably going to get a guard up in the near future, since the possibility of kamikazes into cards is getting high. I could just slam Sheedan. It sets up the 2-turn lethal. I actually set up the 2-turn lethal without slamming Sheedan, though. So let's rather do this instead. And he's got to top deck something. Okay. He wins the 50-50, which I believe keeps him alive. Although, This is 5-10. It, in fact, does not keep him alive because we simply play Dina, attack the HQ. I don't even think we need the Errado, but Errado, and Shinano for the straight burn damage. I've thought at times about taking Shinano out of this deck, but every time I do, Shinano finds a way of convincing me to keep it. And that is another +6. Alright, we have the Britain going to keep Aichi, Type 94. These are both very solid keeps. Again, sending back the 24th, and I don't think keeping 61st is really ever correct. We end up with a actually very solid hand. Again, this is what I mean. 24th Cavalry finds its way back into the mulligan, even mulligan in one card. Next turn, we're going to do Aichi. Essentially, regardless of what he does. I think worst case scenario would this be, if this is Britain, German discard. Mostly just because, you know, we're going first, so we're going first, and this hand is very low value. Honey. So it doesn't necessarily distinguish it much from other decks. Yeah, I don't want to get blown out by supply shortage. So we're just going to kill the honey. The most common Britain deck I find on ladder right now is Credit Denial, which generally gets blown out by discard. Okay. I have no idea what is going on. Do I care if he takes this? I mean, if it's this, it means it's probably not discard, so... Although, like, it might still be Credit Denial, because Credit Denial does lack the ability to deal burn damage to the HQ sometimes. So this could still be Credit Denial, and this guy just decided to run Hurricanes rather than Heians or something to get that chip damage. Or it could just be a very bizarre air deck, I suppose. Some sort of autocomplete deck. Yep, there's the Credit Denial. And... against Commonwealth decks, like, that's the thing about Credit Denial, is with the amount of removal I have in my deck, I'm confident that easily 95% of the time they will not be able to kill me with units. Now, I don't know about this guy's deck in particular, since he seems to be running a much heavier, well, not necessarily heavy, but a unit-dense version of the deck. Than I'm used to. Maybe I should have attacked there. I definitely see the argument for attacking there. Okay, he's just going to do that on his own. There's the honey. This needs to die. Convoy. So yeah, just finishing that thought. Credit Denial, you can usually be very confident that they're not going to win on value. Just with their units. There's just too few of them and too low in value to really beat out my deck on units. So really the only thing I'm concerned about is the possibility of them killing me with Commonwealth. Now obviously I have a chance to discard Commonwealth, but that's not an amazing chance. So if you can take damage against Credit Denial as discard, you should really do it. You should prioritize removing these honeys, since the decks often don't run too many fortifications. They'll like run a couple, maybe some naval powers, but really rely on things like honey redeployment. And if you're playing Credit Denial, you should be very, very hesitant to play out your honeys without getting a ton of healing out of them immediately, because odds are they will be picked off by like a sudden strike, an air superiority, whatever it is. Although, I mean, as I'm saying that they can't really beat you with board, this guy's running a super board heavy deck. Like, this is like some bizarre free-to-play version of the deck, I suppose. Um, Now, this seems like a very good underfire. I think I'll start with surprise attack on the Wrath. Hmm. Here's the... Oh no, I'll start with underfire, because then I can still double surprise attack the Wrath if this is, like, secret operatives. Alright, it's not secret operatives. Finally get rid of this Wrath. Take out this Churchill and get something to the front line to start pressuring damage to the HQ. This guy has so many cards in hand. He's literally at a full hand. We haven't played any discard yet. Chinu. This can be traded into. Well, that's not great. That's not great at all. Annihilation, Sky Barons, both be very good draws here. That's certainly a very good draw. Audacity here just has a 50-50. Like, it's gonna kill either when it hits. Please hit the Dragon Slayer. Alright, we got that. And, yes, there's a high chance he plays a board clear here and kills the Type 94. Type 94 is not the most relevant card in the world, especially if this guy's gonna have a Genie 1 board. Well, that's pretty bad. Gunboat Raid. Okay. Well, now I definitely can't lose this game. Oh, Buddy did that in the wrong order. He did not think that through. One bit. Okay, there's the last honey. Oh, I really want to get him in the HQ. I do think it is just the responsible play to go like this. Hit him with the Wolf Pack. Daylight Bomb is a very good discard because he could have used that to take out the Aichi. With triple honey gone, and I have Kika in hand. Sure, what? I feel like getting rid of the Grant is slightly better. Okay, so it's not Ultras, not Interceptions, not Secret Operatives. It could be Doubting System. I'm just going to have to take those risks, I suppose. Honor? Okay, this guy's got a wild deck. Is he pointing this? Okay. Well, this is just guaranteed lethal. It's another Lancaster. Okay. A Lancaster better on right now. Yep, and this is sort of one of those solved game situations that you can get into with discard, where he has no cards in hand, he can't draw cards, nothing on board lets him draw cards or do anything, so he has to pass. It goes back to my turn. Kika, attack phase, 12 damage. This is not a particularly complicated solved game situation. Sometimes, if you have like double wolf packs, there's some wild lethals you can set up. Especially like wild lethals from hand, where you might be feeling under a lot of pressure, but you know if you wolf pack twice in a row, your opponent will be like one-off lethal with 2 turns of attacks, and you can just go all face. That is going to be a, not too surprisingly, a +4. Let's get on to the next game. Alrighty, here we are against a Japan. Again, this is very strong looking mulligan. There's even an argument to keep Case Yellow there, because so many of the Japans on ladder are Japan-German discard. And with a strong opening hand, discard's actually pretty good against Jaguar as well. Specifically case yellow, since there's often like a one drop you can ping. Now, I'm a little worried about Arado first and getting hit by 35T, and then I can't airsup the Sakura. But I suppose if that happens, Sakura's still in the support line. And Type 94 also gets hit. It would be much worse if I did turn 1 Type 94 and then he does, like, push up expansion. Alright, well, there's the 35T. And I could, like, just play air superiority on this. I might go for a very early Shinano, depending on what he does next. Like, if he plays a bunch of 1 health units, I'll probably just do an early Shinano. Okay. That is certainly not what I was expecting him to do. '24th Cavalry. That's a very good draw. Yeah. This has op cost, but I mean, with island defense in hand, health isn't too much of a concern. This does slightly more damage. And, you know, expansion. This can get picked off by air superiority next turn. Just all decent number of reasons to want to hit the Sakura Regiment over the 35T there. Alright, this is looking like a tempting Shinano. I certainly don't have to do Shinano here. I can do, like, air superiority, trade out 35T even. What's Shinano do here? Shinano does 5 damage. Yeah, I think I will hold out on the Shinano. The Shinodo enters the front line. I can simply just trade it out. And again, not too concerned with damage, especially with the size of his hand at this point. And if he floods, I can always do 24th Cavalry Shinano. Alright. Well, I'm getting close to the range where I need to be worried about, like, 35T Blitzkrieg. Still slightly out of that. I suppose Type 93 35T Blitzkrieg is lethal. It's a 3-card specific combo. 2 of which are limited, so he's played 1 copy of. Air superiority here would be very nice. Air superiority. Actually, I might be out of air superiorities. I believe I only won 2. And I might have played both of them. Let's get rid of that. Hopefully there's not an Enigma coming. We can do case yellow, trade out here if he plays a Shiden. Or at key 83, we can Sky Barons it. Flood the Void is answered by Shinano. Ooh, okay. Drop is a little concerning. Well, let's just see what we get off the Sky Barons first. Do I play Dina here? I play Dina, I overdraw a Type 94, but it leaves me with 1 Type 94. The alternative is to underfire the Shinano. Not the Shinano, the Shinhodo. Now, something that I've been saying a lot recently is overdrawing does not matter that much. And that is true. It's not a general rule. Overdrawing matters a lot in very specific matchups. and a very specific percentage of the time. But there's also a very large percentage of the time where overdrawing does not matter one bit. Ooh, okay, so that's a full board flood. And that is a beautiful top deck. We're not going to leave him with the, yeah. I'm happy with that. And we do overdraw a card here, but like I mentioned, not the end of the world. In the previous case, I didn't want to overdraw the Type 94s because this is a guaranteed draw of a very specific card, which is good in this current game situation. But just overdrawing a random card in my deck is not really going to matter too much. There's no, like, single card in my deck. Well, that card would be very good in this situation, but it's not like I'm going to now lose because I don't have a bonsai. I think I'm just going to go FW Shenano. Actually, yeah, I'll do Type 94 Shenano. Just get one more ping in. If I die to Blitzkrieg here, I'm going to be very upset. What is this? Absolute nonsense. Well, this is why I played the Shiden, because both to decrease the odds Akita damage hit face and increase the odds that it successfully kills 2 units. Wait, why is he trading? Did he forget about ambush? And even if he didn't, why are you trading? You run island defense in Jagro? This guy's ways are beyond me. He could run expansion. He could also like randomly run like Kika, but I think it's more likely he runs expansion into a 2-card way to get rid of this. Just because, you know, if he Sendai said I annihilate the Sendai hit face for 4, then he is in a similar situation where he needs to deal with it. That's going to be a win. And yeah, this is how that deck handles aggro. You don't necessarily need like the super crazy start of huge board clears. You just slowly wind them down, and then because you have island defenses, them trying to burn you out never works. Well, almost never works. Obviously, you can lose a lot of games because you just don't find one of your many island defenses. But this deck draws a lot of cards. But anyways, let's get on to the next game. Alright, so here we're against a German deck. And you know how I say I never keep 24th Cavalries? I mean, I've said that multiple times. I might have cut those games, but I always say never keep 24th Cavalries. I'm going to keep it in this situation. For a couple different reasons. The most obvious reason is just I'm keeping all my other cards, so there's not a risk of getting one back on the mulligan. And the other reason is if it's aggro, I'm fine having all of these cards. And if it's control, or like discard, I'm pretty fine having all of these cards. But most importantly, if it's aggro and I don't have 24th Cavalry, like German aggro in particular is probably the matchup where it matters the most, just because this kills any tank in their deck in the front line without any buffs, or it takes the front line, preventing them from, you know, getting into the front line. This is... Oh, we just have to go for the Shenano here, right? Okay, okay. Shenano was very scared of Shenano last game. That one did its job. Okay. I was about to say bombing raid, but I guess the raid is going to account for that. It does not account for the 4 glory. I love this card so much. So For Glory is a card that I've really never played before, but it's really good in the current meta. One, just sort of the, well, I mean, the case in point. But the number one, not the number one counter, but a very good deck in theory against discard is the IS2 printer deck, where you just, get a ton of IS2s, get out an early 272nd. And it is very difficult to deal with an early IS2. Or, kill an early 272nd because you can deal with the IS2 later, but you don't want them to be, manpower in it and Fog of War in it, or Fortunes of War in it. For Glory, removes that, but it also removes a couple of those annoying units that are outside of Annihilation range, most notably KV. And then you can just play it as I did against aggro very early, which is really shockingly good against Jagro, because it removes Signal Regiment, it removes Key 83, it removes Sheedan, and then against Heinz or Combined Arms, it removes Greif, it removes Inaxtrub, it removes Autocannon. And those are cards which aren't necessarily super difficult to remove in this deck, but it's the fact that you can remove them instantly, because they are cards that, if they are not removed instantly, are going to really pressure out your opponent, and you are typically going to be playing your removal on other stuff first. So yeah, for Glory, really solid in this deck. Let's get on to the next game. Alright, we have a Soviets player. Just gonna keep this hand. Arados essentially just replace themselves, and against Soviets, just getting into your deck a little bit. It's fine, and you're probably not going to be under pressure too early. So just, playing a little bit slower. We're going to hold back the 24th Cavalry, because if it's self-damage, they get a benefit out of pinging that way more than I get out of a benefit of having it in the support line. And they are going to go for the Polycarpov. And now it's time to push this up. If our opponent just plays out the 3 Polycarpovs, we could double a Rado attack. We could even do, like, oh, okay, that's certainly not what I was expecting him to do. Kind of bizarre. Let's just get out the Dragon Slayer. Seems very bizarre to me that you would play this card. I mean, I guess, like, I take 1 damage from the cavalry drawing. Floats 4? What could possibly be... Like, Entrapment would be the one that comes to mind, but he's floating 4. Is it Night Hunters? Doubting System? But if it was Doubting System, you could still play one. Is it like Doubting System plus Interception? What is happening? I don't think there's anything that can trigger off of attack, so I think this is pretty safe. It could be like Rescue Mission, I suppose. We do risk overdrawing. I mean, this is almost certainly just going to be a From the People to kill Dragon Slayer, play out to Polycarpovs. Yeah, the other consideration is Confusion, but then I don't overdraw. It does mean I don't draw the Recons, but... Or not the Recons, the Cavalries, but that's perfectly fine. Okay, well, let's just do this. If he hammers the 61st, we might overdraw, but again, overdrawing doesn't really matter. Like, sometimes it's going to be annoying if it overdraws like a Kika, but very low chance of happening. Is he going to From the People in Narada or double hit? Interesting. Well, can take out both of these if I want. It's getting very difficult to not overdraw. Although I just air superiority. This, case yellow it. Urban Fighting. That is not a card I expected to see. We will remove this. Although that actually lets him clear the board. He can, from the people this, attack it. I overdraw a card. Then I just 24th Cavalry, case yellow again. "42nd Rifles." This guy is running such a bizarre collection of cards. I still am leaning towards 24th Cavalry Regiment, case yellow. However, then he can overdraw me 2 cards. I could just Annihilation it. Okay, so it is the IS-2 printer deck. That is good to know, and good to see a manpower gone. Although, if you're running 42nd, that means he's not running, well, it should mean, hopefully, he is not running Machines of War, which would be quite good for us. He's probably not running a lot of air units in the deck, so I'm just going to Sky Barons this. And I really don't want a Raiding Brigade deck, because there's so many better targets for Raiding Brigade and Soviet-controlled in general than a 1-1. But also don't super want to overdraw. Like, overdrawing doesn't matter a ton, but I'm not just going to, like, purposefully overdraw all my cards, because Raiding Brigade is probably not better than the average card in my deck. Okay, this is just going to be a case yellow to the HQ kind of turn. Another manpower. How does this person intend to draw their 272nd? Misses the 50-50. He'll, from the people, finish it off. I overdraw a card. And that's unfortunate. I forget if this draws me 2 Type 94s or 1 Type 94. Either way, it will result in me overdrawing, so that's just case yellow. Now, he also needs to find out a way to draw cards. That's fine. Overdraws me again. That's not the worst. Now, I could just sheet in it. This play seems perfectly fine, considering it's pretty difficult for him to remove this. And this is technically lethal on board. It's okay, 3rd ASW patrol. That's one way to get rid of it. Alright, this might just be a Shenano burn face type of turn. Because not only does it mean I don't overdraw, also means I get to burn him for 7 or 6. Man, it is shockingly difficult to empty cards from your hand if your hand is entirely removable against a guy who doesn't play units. Okay, well, we're 1 off lethal. That's gonna help. 4-2 2-2-7. What? Okay, I guess it's not. I guess it's a repair deck, and he just like never drew the Bushmasters and presumably other repair synergy cards. I don't understand. That guy was cooking something wild. Well, that was a pretty understandable +3. Alright, we have another Britain. Aichi? Britain is probably the nation where Aichi is worst against. However, I still feel like the power, it's correct to keep at least one Aichi, even knowing the risks of supply shortage, and if you're keeping one Aichi, it's worth keeping two. Now, if it's any type of control deck, we're not going to play both on the board at the same turn. At the same time, I mean. What's he up to? Might just attack HQ. I could push. Well, okay, here. I push 24th Cavalry. He either plays Supply Shortage, which throws off the credit denial curve, or he plays Daylight Bombing. Oh, it's going to be Discard. That is interesting. As wonderful as this Raiding Brigade target is, I am just going to simply take the trade. Get the value out. Don't give him too much off of Supply Shortage. He's not going to Fog of War that, is he? Ah, case yellow. Well, if he's just going to case yellow us, we are simply going to case yellow him right back. And thus begins the stupidity of the discard mirror. Already we're up, because he discarded a relatively useless card, and I discarded the biggest unit in his deck. Well, he strikes back and discards the second or third best unit in my deck. Depends how you measure it. And let's go ahead and play Dina. Double Errado. Double Errado's very good if I get to play them, substantially worse than Type 94 if I don't get to play them. Because at least Type 94, they replace themselves in hand immediately, no questions asked. Okay, well, he's now discarded the best card in my deck. It's on quite the roll. Do I just, like, give him supply shortage value? I think so. He plays an easy supply shortage here, but we draw this out of our deck, which is fine. Although, maybe in this matchup I don't want to be drawing this out of my deck. This matchup very well could go to fatigue. So we have one of these left in our deck. Let's do this. If he kills both of them, we overdraw a card. It seems difficult for him to kill both of them. It's certainly possible he could do, like, Wrath Lightning, Supply Shortage. Or technically even Monsoon Rot Supply Shortage if he wants to get crazy with it. Alright. Well, let's just put our opponent under pressure. This is one of the things you can do against Britain, German, that you can't really do against German, Japan, or Japan, German, is Britain doesn't have island defenses. Now, they should have healing, they should have fortifications, but if you can force your opponent to play them, that means your quality of discard is going to be better. And also, they just are substantially worse than island defenses. They heal less, they don't draw cards to replace themselves. Oh, Monty's not bad. What card in his hand is he pointing at something? Probably Mosquito? Another case yellow? Alright. Um... Could just Wolfpack end case yellow him. That'd be a pretty easy way for him to mill a card, but I don't think that's the end of the world. Also means he can't push Panther A up. Yeah, Wolfpack on Convoy's not terrible. Substantially less impactful than the case yellow on case yellow. Means he has one of each discard left. So he does Carpet Bomb me. Finds the third Convoy. He's not pushing up, so I do overdraw a card, but I also find Annihilation, which is going to let me get rid of this. Let's... Do I want to be drawing? Probably. I think his health is low enough that drawing's going to be good for us. Gets rid of the third case yellow. That's huge. So he has one Wolfpack, one Annihilation. Kitty Hawk. Pass. There's a pretty high chance that he just has Ultra here. It's tempting to go for the Sky Barons, because... How do I play out Aichi? He's played at least 2 supply shortage, I think just 2. I'm gonna keep the Sky Barons, because Lancaster, Wrath Lightnings, Mosquito. Is that Annihilation he's pointing? Maybe Mosquito. Equal chance. Mosquito definitely comes to mind. Mosquito here seems really good. He's just trying to decide whether he wants to block the bomber or take out the first part of the bomber and block the other part of the bomber. Yep, there's the Mosquito. And Wrath Lightning. That's kind of annoying. Honestly, I could very easily to the last man this. I'm not going to, though. Okay, so we have Shiden still in deck. So now he has to be slightly worried about dying at any point. Island defense, not too big of a concern. Another Wrath Lightning. Interesting. We're just going to play to the last man. He's committed a lot to the board. Avery's gone. He has... Mosquito's gone, so he has, like, Lancaster, maybe. Sexton. Wellington. Since this is actually lethal on its own, I'm not going to commit both to the board in case he has a supply shortage Monsoon Rot. This does give him an Annihilation target if he can find the second one. Sexton draw. I could remove this in a couple different ways. Since we have lethal through Blackwatch, I'm gonna actually get the use out of the bonsai now and save for glory. Although I suppose if he doesn't run Lancaster, which is somewhat reasonable, Spitfire. This should be lethal. Alright, just gonna double check this. Yep. And we can even play around careless talk. Honorable fight. Discarded Kika, never shied in bottom 4. Doesn't matter, we're still able to burn them out. That guy didn't ever play any healing. I don't know if he was just unlucky with fortifications at the bottom, or maybe, you know, he just doesn't run healing. But we have hit 2,800, meaning we are up, what are we? We're up 38 points. Only 38 points, in winning 8 games in a row. Doesn't feel like a lot, but I mean 2,800 is already some progress, so we'll leave it off there for today. Thank you very much for watching. I will catch you in the next one, and subscribe to stay tuned to this road to rank 1 for the July 2023 season.